People are pretty happy that AI was used to make that process more efficient, more digestible. I think people reading a review for baby formula would be pretty disappointed if that was written by AI with no human in the loop.
Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hausman, and joining me today is a brand new rock star. Super excited to dive in today. He's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of originality.ai. Jon Gillham, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kirby. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to start right there at Originality. What inspires you to create originality.ai, and sort of what led you to this project?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so before Originality, the sort of immediately before, I had a content marketing business where we had a team of writers, had a bunch of clients, and were at times very heavy users of AI, and in other parts of the business were not heavy users of AI. And this predated ChatGPT. This was back in sort of the days of Jasper using GPT-3 at the time. And so I was using it within that business. We were struggling to be able to accurately communicate to clients when AI was being used and when it wasn't. And we had a policy on it, but we didn't really have any mitigating controls. And so we sort of saw the wave of generative AI coming pre ChatGPT and ended up launching our tool, which is this content QA/QC, AI detection, plagiarism checking, fact checking, readability, grammar, spelling. And we ended up launching that the weekend before ChatGPT launched.
Really? That's interesting timing, isn't it?
Yeah. At first I was bummed, but then realized it was that we were still effective, and it was good timing.
Yeah. Well, gosh, it's just things are springing up everywhere. So, I mean, with that rise of AI generated content, how do you see the balance between originality and automation evolving? Because it's something I think we're struggling with.
Yeah, I think it's something that society is going to wrestle with. I think there's some clear use cases that people are very happy to find out. You know, a sports score summary of a game, a weather analysis summary, a distilling a news piece down to something that's more bite-sized. I think people are pretty happy that AI was used to make that process more efficient, more digestible. I think people reading a review for baby formula would be pretty disappointed if that was written by AI with no human in the loop. And so I think there's a spectrum that society is going to wrestle with, and I think there's going to be gray area where people will agree and disagree on what is allowed and not allowed. I think in the case of marketing companies, I think we're happy to pay a writer $100, $1,000 an article, whatever that rate might be for that individual. Not very happy to find out it was copied and pasted out of ChatGPT in 10 seconds. And so there's sort of a fairness component to it. But I think sort of society in general, it's going to evolve. And I think it's still to be determined where that line is.
Yeah. Just going off script for a second, I was given a sort of a talk to our chamber about it. And I said that, I think one of the things I hear people say is like, gosh, I wouldn't want to be a teacher right now because it's hard. And then I'm just like, yeah, but this is a great example, I think teachers need to go, well, why are we fighting against a tool that's being used? We might be asking the kids to learn skills that don't matter at the economy they're going to work in. So it's like you said, it's going to be a weird balance,
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I think the written word is, we actually don't recommend our tool being used within academia because there's AI detection is highly accurate but not perfect, and so it creates when there's high consequence decisions off the back of a single score, that's problematic.
So how can marketers ensure that their AI assisted content maintains authenticity and avoids penalties from search engines? How can we do that?
Yeah, so I think I'll try and explain. We've done a bunch of studies around how does Google view and what is the impact of AI content on Google. And I think it's extremely clear that Google hates mass AI generated content. Google is facing an existential threat where if their search results are filled with nothing but AI, why would people go to Google? Why wouldn't they just go to the AI? And so Google is fighting that in multiple ways. They certainly communicate that they're this sort of AI forward company, which they need to be. Otherwise, they'll face their kind of Kodak moment, and the technology that they invented will put them out of business. And so that's that's sort of the challenge that for Google on how to deal with AI generated content. So if you're mass generating AI content, Google's going to fine you and punish you. That's clear. Mass meaning like, click a button and 1,000 posts get published. Where it gets more nuanced is if you have a writer in the loop. We personally use it where some of our research team will write a study and an analysis and explanation on how something works. And then their English is a second language, and they use an AI to help assist in the creation of that content, but it's all their own original thought. And so I would say if you're from a marketer standpoint, I think you want to ensure that there's a human in the loop. If there's not a human in the loop, you're messing up the opportunity of how AI can benefit you. I'd say that's sort of like rule one. And then rule two, and it's similar to the comment around, are we teaching students skills that are irrelevant in a world where knowledge and writing become nearly so effective that it's sort of a zero cost to reproduce, that if all you're sharing into the world is words, then you probably should be thinking about your marketing strategy slightly differently, and that you should be adding additional value in the form of images, tools, etc. So those are the kind of the two things that, human in the loop and try and go beyond words.
Yeah, it's funny you say this, John, because we have not utilized AI to like write a blog post for us per se, like you said, mass generated. But I personally have no problem with utilizing AI to transcribe and do something. Like if I did a video and I made bullet points and said, okay, help me, here's the video, we're going to use this, and then utilize AI to help me write the blog post based on my thoughts. I don't know. It doesn't feel like I'm cheating, but I guess,
Agreed.
I think that's the challenge, right?
Yeah, no, fully agree. I think there's gonna be so many of these edge cases where, I think for the history of sort of like marketing and Google, as far as my history with it is, it's like generally common sense is sort of the best prevailing wisdom. Like if it feels icky, if it feels wrong, if it feels like you wouldn't want to consume that information, then it probably means that it's not adding a lot of value. And if it's not adding value, it's probably not going to achieve the marketing results that you're after.
Okay, final question for you, John. How do you see AI changing the landscape of content marketing in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to abuse it and try and leverage sort of the short-term benefits from it, not think long-term, and that's going to, in the end, cost them. Sort of the ability to drive content marketing costs to zero is pretty attractive, but in the end, it's not going to work. It's going to cause problems. It's going to cause a lot of pain. How I think it's going to evolve, I think it's going to that's going to get shaken out. It is getting shaken out. I think people are realizing that is not sort of a smart long-term strategy. And I think people are going to start using AI tools to assist in their marketing more and more, so specifically for content marketing, the future that we see and we're building to is that it's a AI assistant assisting in the creation of the content, helping make sure that the content meets their standards, whether it's AI or not, plagiarism free or not, fact checking, whether you're pro using AI or anti using AI, no one wants to publish factually inaccurate information. And so adding fact checking, readability checking. And so I think the way AI is going to help the best marketers win more is by being an assistant to the work that they are already doing.
Love that, John. So in the interest of transparency, I wanted to do this. So I actually, getting ready for this, I had prepared questions, but then I went to ChatGPT and typed in your information and originality.ai and said, help me come up with questions for John for this interview. And so the 4 questions I asked you were, now it came up with 20. And then I was like, I curated the ones I like the best. But then to me, that's one of the ways that we ideate with it, using the human touch. And so I wanted to give a case study there since we were talking about AI. So where can folks learn more about you and Originality?
Yeah, so originality.ai is the website. You can email me there at jon@originality.ai or find me on LinkedIn.
John, this was really fun. I really appreciate you taking the time. We'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Kirby.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.